Ask Reddit. Those who didn't believe in ghosts / the paranormal, what experience did you have that changed your view? Let me start off by saying I consider myself a rational person and a skeptic. I don't believe in ghosts, demons, etc. That being said, I don't know how to explain what I witnessed about 10 years ago. I was on a train heading upstate, sitting by the window listening to music. Suddenly the doors that separate the train cars slide open, and in steps maybe the strangest looking man I've ever seen. I can't really describe it well. His face was just very angular and strange, like a real life caricature. He also looked homeless, and had an unbearable stench that filled the entire train car. He wore dirty but bright, colorful clothes and what looked like a tutu/skirt thing. The whole thing was just strange, but I didn't pay much attention, because I've seen much stranger. So he's working his way down the aisle, and I'm holding my breath until he reaches the other end of the car and proceeds to the next one. Here's a part that still messes with me to this day. It happened again. I don't mean he went back from the other direction. I mean this guy came back into our train car from the way he originally came in. This is a single-decker train with one aisle, and there was no way I wouldn't have noticed him coming past me again. Just no way. My mind is racing, and I'm kind of freaking out. Did this guy somehow climb on top of the train, Mission Impossible style, and come back in? No, that's crazy. I thought that I had no explanation. I was mystified. It was pure déjà vu, except it happened right before my eyes. The interesting thing is almost everyone else on that train car seemed to acknowledge something astonishing and strange had just taken place. I don't know why I didn't yell. Did you guys just see that? Or am I crazy? No one said anything, but we all sort of looked at each other wearing these puzzled looks on our faces. I still think about what happened all the time, and I've never been able to rationally explain it. My mother passed away when I was 16. She had been sick in the hospital, but I never knew that it was that bad. My parents were always telling my older sister and me that it was just a virus and it was passing. I finished working at my fast food job after school and went home to change before visiting my mother at the hospital. My sister was on her way home to do the same. I heard the side door open, expecting my sister, and heard my mom say, "Finally home." I was getting changed, so I couldn't just run out of my room, but I was super happy. But when I came out no one was home. Then, my sister drove up the driveway and I went outside. We drove straight to the hospital. This was just before cell phones were popular, so we didn't have anyone contact us. When we got to the hospital we went to the room. My dad was waiting for us. We knew it was bad news as my mom wasn't in bed. He was crying. His words, "She's home," he meant she was in heaven. I saw someone dressed in black walk into my room. I thought it was my sister. I go into the room to find my sister asleep and not wearing black. I no longer use the bathroom at night. I hold that sucker in until the morning sun shines upon my demon-infested home. A buddy got separated from the rest of his patrol in a swamp. It was a training mission, but still not a great situation. At night, after wandering around for a while and becoming thoroughly lost, he ran into 3 dudes in the darkness. Thinking they were part of one of our sister units that were also out that night, he asked where our platoon was. They pointed him our way and he wandered up. Less than 5 minutes later, I asked where he'd been, and he told me the story. Only thing was, and I confirmed this with the patrol leader, we were the last element in the movement and no one should been where the 3 men were. Found out later that 3 soldiers died in those swamps in the 90s on a similar mission, and ever since then, multiple soldiers lost and alone in those swamps have encountered 3 soldiers who've guided them back to their comrades. I'm still on the fence about my feelings of ghosts. I've posted this story more than once, so I'll keep it as short as possible. Grandpa died. I was 7. Went to funeral in Florida. In middle of the night, I see Grandpa poke his head out from his bedroom, like he's checking on me. Classic ghost, glowing, white, ethereal. I keep this info to myself for 20+ years, thinking it was a Veractus kid imagination. One day, I casually mention it to my sister, 2 years older. She was in a different part of the house. She saw the exact same thing and never brought it up for the same reason. So, I still don't believe in ghosts. But I do believe in some sci-fi-esque multiverse stuff that kind of makes my experience work out. We went to Preston Castle. We drove past a line of about 30 closed mailboxes. I got out of the car and walked towards the fence, at which point about a zillion birds all started squawking and flew out of the trees. I turned back around and every mailbox was open and every mailbox flag was up. Tremendous amounts of nope. Never going back there. Fuck no. Laying in the floor of my best friend's bedroom sleeping. Woke up in the middle of the night to look up and see someone standing in the doorway 10 feet away. I thought it was my friend being stupid. I rolled back over, decided to look again, because I never heard him lay down in his bed. This blue hue apparition was standing over me, knelt down, and placed its hand on my shoulder. I could literally feel intense heat on my shoulder. It soon just disappeared, and I had trouble going back to sleep. I grew up in a house that definitely had one or more entities or things in it. My mum grew up in the house and mentioned several times she'd wake up at night to see an old man standing at the end of her or her brother's bed, watching over them. My dad never believed her until they'd been married and he experienced the same thing, waking up to the old man standing at the end of the bed watching. There's tons of other stuff like footsteps coming from parts of the house that had no one in them, weird noises, horribly creepy feelings of being watched, stuff being messed with and noises of stuff being moved around when there was no way stuff could be moved. I still don't like the dark because of the house. Weird thing is, when my dad passed away 7 years ago it all stopped. My mum brought it up in conversation a while ago that everything seemed to stop when he passed away and the house became peaceful. I'm an atheist and have trouble getting my head around what I grew up with and what has happened since, but I'd like to think that dad told them to fuck off and stop bothering us. A few days after my sister's dad passed away and my mom was going through a huge rough phase from it, I decided to help clean the house. As I was doing the dishes, I saw out of the corner of my eye the shoes that he had always wore and half a leg walking out the front door. I wasn't scared or anything, just felt shocked and saddened afterward. My mom actually saw him too, like 2 days after I did. She walked in their bedroom and saw his hand on the chair that he always sat on when playing video games. Keep in mind he was only in his late 20s when he passed. After he was cremated, we didn't see any signs of him again. I had an experience that could just have been a weird between dream state, but it was incredibly bizarre. I was living at my grandmother's house for a while, which is built in the same spot as what used to be the old county poor farm. This is a place in olden times where, if you were homeless or needy, you could go work on the farm and have a place to stay and eat in this small town in the Pacific Northwest. Not sure if this is relevant, but needless to say the place had had many people living there in the past. Anyway, it was a hot summer night. I slept naked because it was so hot. I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and as I'm about to get up, I see what looks to be a human figure standing in the corner near the closet, looking in my direction. It's dark, so I'm still not sure it's not clothes in my closet making it look that way, but I'm still already freaked out. At the time, I thought that someone had broken into the house and was there to try to rape and or kill me and had been there waiting while I slept naked while I was totally vulnerable. I'm actually grateful in a way because I had a fight or flight moment and I chose to fight. I get up, start yelling "What are you doing here?" and run for the light switch. I turn the light switch and saw a fully formed man with a graying beard and blue eyes wearing traditional lumberjack type clothing who then started dissolving, just like they would show on a movie about ghosts or whatever, until he was completely transparent. My heart was beating a million miles a second and I was in a state of high adrenaline after that, but on some level I was glad that it wasn't a real person trying to kill me and just a ghost or strange hallucination. I'd always liked ghost stories before but never really thought they were necessarily real, but man, just the fact that I turned on the light maybe thinking it was a shadow and seeing a fully formed human that I could recognize details about was really freaky. I drew a picture of him the day after. If people care to see, then maybe I can find it next time I visit my parents. This didn't happen to me, but to my great grandma. She says she never believed in ghosts or gave them much thought until this experience, and she swears by it. This happened in the 1950s. Great grandma and great grandpa had a nice little house together and their first little baby. Baby slept in a crib in the adjacent room. One night, great grandma wakes up and sees her dead mother standing at the foot of the bed. Dead mother says, "Sonia, the baby," and disappears. Grandma said it happened so fast she second guessed whether it had actually happened, but she decided to check on the baby anyway. Baby is purple with a blanket twisted around his neck. She removed the blanket and baby was okay. She said that was the first and last time that she's seen a ghost, but it completely changed her view of the world.